Mary Ellen's room felt like it was breathing every time I stepped inside, as if the walls themselves were waiting for something to move. The little teddy bear by her pillow never stayed facing the same direction, though I kept telling myself exhaustion could twist memories. But now, in the silence of the night, listening to the way Mary Ellen whispered to the darkness, I knew none of it had a harmless explanation. Her voice carried a trembling note that didn't belong to her throat. The words shaped themselves with a rhythm older than anything she could know. Every night, the murmur behind her breath grew heavier, like another set of lungs hiding under her own, waiting for the right moment to exhale. Doctors said she was fine, scans spotless, blood perfect, but her speech didn't belong to a child anymore. Her sentences bent themselves around a memory that wasn't hers. Her movement shifted in small fractures, her steps drifting out of sync with her words, her fingertips tapping a rhythm in empty space as if following someone else's pulse. Watching her sleep became torture. The tiny spasms in her cheeks weren't dreams, but someone testing the shape of her face from the inside. The night she turned her head toward me with the weighted gaze of an adult, I felt my heartbeat stop in a place I couldn't reach. She spoke my name, but the sound wasn't mine to recognize. When medicine had nothing left to offer, when psychiatry collapsed into helplessness, I called the priests. Even before they opened her door, her whisper seeped through the hallway, a thin thread of sound pulling the air taut. The moment they began their prayers, her back arched as if her bones were trying to break out of her skin. Her eyes were on them, though her face stayed on me, like she had learned to divide her attention between the body she wore and the voices she heard. As their voices rose, her own voice split, one part small and terrified, the other calm, with an ancient, exhausted hunger. That was when I understood. My daughter was screaming from the inside, but her voice had nowhere to escape. The rhythm under her skin tightened. Her shoulders jerked while her legs stayed perfectly still, as though the intruder was measuring her bones, deciding how best to inhabit them. The room grew dense, the air thickening until breathing felt like swallowing iron. Then she snapped her head upward, and for a heartbeat, she truly looked like my child. But the words that followed wanted to erase everything that made me her mother. When she said "Mom," the sound came from her mouth, but not from her soul. With each verse of prayer, her expression flickered, my daughter surfacing for seconds before being dragged under again. When holy water touched her forehead, peace bloomed across her features, fragile and brief, like a candle struggling against wind. I saw her there. I saw her alive. And then she vanished under a violent shudder of her spine. A tongue not born in this world spilled out in broken syllables, tearing itself free from the structure of human speech. And when she smiled, it was not her smile. "You will never take her back," it said, using her lips with possessive certainty. The lamps dimmed, shadows shifting into shapes that didn't belong to the things casting them. A second silhouette unfolded behind her, clinging to her outline, leaning into her bones. The walls whispered like they remembered her name before I did. The prayers thundered, and the room echoed with voices that didn't belong to anyone living. When her eyes met mine at the final line of scripture, she was there, my Mary Ellen, frightened, trembling, reaching for me from the deepest place inside herself. Her mouth opened as if to speak, but the other voice forced itself through her teeth first. "She opened the door. You didn't close it." Her chest heaved, not with breath, but with pressure, as if something inside her was trying to push through her ribs. The priest tried to restrain her, but the air itself moved around her like hands pulling at her shoulders, dragging her into a shape that wasn't human. The light flickered again, and for a moment I saw two faces layered on top of each other, one pleading, one triumphant. The triumphant one won. Mary Ellen's body jerked forward. Every muscle went still. Her eyes rolled downward, not upward, as if looking into something beneath her feet. Then, in a voice soft enough to break me in half, she whispered, "Mom, don't look at it." The floorboards beneath her trembled. A cold current lifted her hair as if breath rose from the cracks below. The priest stepped back. The shadows lengthened. And when her gaze slowly rose to meet mine again, it wasn't my daughter looking at me anymore. It wore her eyes, her bones, her breath. Yet it wasn't her. And it smiled, gently, lovingly, as if it had waited a long time for this moment. "She's still here," it murmured in a calm, steady tone, "but now she's watching you from my side." The walls exhaled, the teddy bear shifted, and Mary Ellen, whatever she had become, took one step toward me, not to scare me, but as if greeting me into a place she already knew I would follow.